So yeah, this was always coming from me. It's been coming a while, but now I've got the perfect excuse, haven't I? As you can see from the title, I'll try and make it as fragrance related as possible. But yeah, you know me, I'll probably waffle on quite a bit about ABBA. So yeah, ABBA. Why do I love ABBA? Well, ABBA kind of just always been there through my childhood, like a lot of people. I think they just split up roundabout when I was brought into this world, and yeah, they were just always there, always on the radio, always being played. And I specifically remember when I used to come and visit my family up here, up north, going through the Tyne Tunnel, we'd always seem to have the ABBA Gold album on. Anyway, why ABBA? Who are ABBA? ABBA were founded in 1972. Agnetha, Bjorn, Benny, and Anni-Frid, or Frida. Um, Basically, Benny and Bjorn were already successful-ish kind of artists, and they were writing songs together, so they formed a band. And obviously, it wasn't till 1974 when Waterloo won the Eurovision Song Contest, which is absolutely fantastic and just shows how good the Eurovision Song Contest is. However, they did have a hit before that, which was Ring Ring, which didn't do overly well. But Waterloo brought them massive success. It was the first UK number one, and a number one across Europe as well. After that, they released I Do, I Do, I Do, which didn't quite do as well. Not in the UK anyway, which was kind of one of the biggest charts at the time. And then after that came SOS, which is, could it be my second or third favourite? Love that song. But again, that only got to number 6. I think it is one of their best songs, and kind of sealed that kind of typical melody we recognise them for. And then after that, Mamma Mia, that was a number 1, and that kind of started the whole kind of pattern and the trend. Obviously, ABBA never really made it big in the US. Weird taste over in the US, I think. Not many, obviously the songs were in English, but I don't think many non-speaking, non-English kind of origin people, like, you know, Europeans and that, had really made it in the charts massively in America. Obviously that's changed now. But yeah, so Dancing Queen was their only US number 1. But in the UK they had 9 number 1s, including 18 top 10 hits in a row, which is quite a success. You know, obviously that album is one of the best-selling albums of all time, I think, and they also sold so far 150 million albums, and that's quite something. So the first is Agnetha, and Agnetha, quite possibly the most kind of famous, the face of ABBA, if you like. Not strictly true. I mean, they're all famous and very big in their own ways. She was born in Sweden, and really was always very musical, even in her childhood. Her first number 1 topped the Swedish charts in 1968, so a little while before ABBA. And then she ended up in ABBA, but she was still releasing her own solo stuff at first. Which is quite a massive singer in her native Sweden. After ABBA and that, between 86 and 2004, she took a big break. A lot of personal tragedy in her life, quite a sad story. Obviously Agnetha, you know, people knew her for a bum back in the days, you know, and the blonde one from ABBA. Of course she was much more than that, with her beautiful voice and melodies. And yeah, so that's Agnetha. And bloody hell, there's bloody crap all the way here. How am I going to get over here? Yeah, sorry about that. Absolutely stung myself to hell. Not good. So back to Agnetha. Yeah, what have I matched Agnetha with? Well, it's Love and Tears from Kilian. And the reason I've picked that is because Love and Tears is quite this. It's quite this pure, beautiful, fresh, outdoors, natural, basically jasmine. It makes you think of spring and that. And I think when we think of Agnetha, we think of her as being a bit mysterious, a bit melancholy, sweet, natural. All these things we kind of got in our head, pure, like we thought about ABBA and all sorts of things like that. And this kind of beautiful, soft jasmine fragrance just it could even make you think. I don't think jasmine grows in Sweden, but the beautiful Swedish countryside and this kind of inverted commas kind of stereotypical image of a Swedish lady that we'd have. And I think Love and Tears I think is absolutely perfect for it. So yeah, not to waffle on and on and on, for Agnetha is Kilian's Love and Tears. Now next is the first B, which is obviously it's Bjorn, and Bjorn is probably the more famous one, perhaps you could say outside of ABBA as the most successful one. Anyway, Bjorn again was born in Sweden. He did military service in his youth, and then he did fall into music. He was a singer in a folk band for quite a while, and he met Benny, the other B, in 1966. Before, obviously, the rest is kind of history. They formed ABBA, they got on, etc., etc. He also, after ABBA, he wrote things such as Chess, with Tim Rice, and he also was co-producer on Mamma Mia, which again is kind of testament to just how massive ABBA was. That there was this thirst, this need, this want for ABBA to continue and continue. Now, I'm not the biggest Mamma Mia fan in the world. I think it's all right. I suppose it's the singing. Obviously, the songs are great. I did, however, love Muriel's Wedding, which is another one. Anyway, I'm waffling on. What I've picked for Bjorn is actually a Swedish fragrance. There's a surprise, isn't it? Probably one of only two houses which both may appear, but it's Byredo. And it's a Cordude, which is my favourite actually from Byredo, which is this kind of boozy, blackberry, leathery kind of oudi-like fragrance. And the reason I think this goes so well is obviously you think of kind of, I don't know, I think of Bjorn having loads of shots of kind of rum and drinks of rum, wearing leather, because it was back in the 70s when he was writing all these wonderful songs. And the fact it's a Cordude, obviously it's a synthetic oud, that's synthesizes ABBA. I mean, it mixes the kind of natural beauty of the great voices and the great lyrics with this kind of unashamedly, beautifully disco-y, synthetic kind of music, just as the new one does, and I'm so glad it's like that. And yeah, I think a Cordude perfectly matches Bjorn. So that's Byredo's a Cordude for Bjorn. Now the next B is obviously Benny, who was actually born Bjorn, not in French, obviously Bjorn, or however you'd say it in Swedish, which would have made the band ABBA, I suppose. But anyway, waffling. He was also born in Sweden, and from a young age, again, very interested in music. He learned to play the accordion quite young, and he self-taught himself the piano from the age of 10, so obviously very interested in music as well. He was also in a folk band, and when he met Bjorn, and like Bjorn, he also wrote with him Chess, and obviously had a part in Mamma Mia as well. So obviously another successful person after the band. So not waffling on. What I've picked for him is Swedoft's Bohemian. Again, another Swedish fragrance. This one is a lot more kind of in your face. It's a lot more powerful. It's similar kind of notes, leather, kind of a boozy touch of real oud. It's very lovely. It's got greenness in it. Kind of again making you think of that kind of Swedish kind of thing. But not just that. It's actually, I think it represents Benny quite well, because Benny was kind of, if you like, the more personality fella in the band. He looked like he was the cheeky one, the one who was a bit more fun, a bit more of a laugh. Not that I'm sure Bjorn was as well, but Benny kind of gave off that persona. And, you know, again, I imagine them both, you know, having a few drinks, wearing leather back in the 70s, the same kind of thing. I think this fragrance kind of suits him perfectly. So for Benny, I've picked Swedoft's Bohemian. And of course now, the last day. Anni-Frid or Frida. Actually, Anni-Frid or Frida, we'll call her Frida, like is her name, was actually born in Norway, not Sweden, unlike the rest, although she was born in Sweden. And I'll not really talk about the personal lives of any of them, because it's not really relevant, is it? But I think actually it's important to kind of mention, because Frida has such a fascinating life, really. Now, Frida was kind of born, her father was a German soldier in occupied Norway, and it's kind of believed that was part of that kind of push to breed an Aryan race. Very controversial thing, but obviously they had some messed up ideas. But anyway, it's probably why she was brought up in Sweden, because obviously this would have, at the time, not been kind of viewed in the best light, even though maybe it's a love story, you know what I mean. Nobody knows, do they? She then started to become a jazz singer quite young. She did release albums in Sweden, etc. And this was in 1967. Didn't have as much success as Agnetha, but still. And then obviously after ABBA, again another fascinating like fairy tale story. She married Prince Heinrich of Reuss. And then was known as Her Serene Highness, and since his death is now known as Dowager Countess. She also now is in a relationship with some British count, so she's quite got quite an exciting kind of backstory there, and has had an exciting life. The fragrance I picked for is Misia from Chanel, and this is kind of because of that kind of Greta Garbo siren's kind of lifestyle, marrying into royalty, being a princess. She's obviously a very glamorous member, you know, the brunette, the kind of the inverted commas, whatever, sexy kind of look or whatever. But anyway, Misia gives that kind of picture of you know, the makeup, the powder rooms, the being very glamorous, the fur coats or faux fur coats, and all that glitz and glamour that it would have entailed being in ABBA and everything like that. So I think Misia kind of really suits her character and her personality, and that's what I've picked for Frida. So yeah, this was just a little self-indulgence, kind of with some fragrances thrown in to kind of make it. I've been looking for an excuse to kind of do something around ABBA. As you can see, I've already had quite a few posts, quite a few reels. They're all kind of ABBA-y, aren't they? Can't help myself. And the new release, the new single kind of gave me that excuse, and the single is very, very ABBA, and it just makes me very happy. We all have favourite bands, don't we? Also, they are the greatest band in the world, so says I. I just think they are. The fun and the great, and the Beatles and stuff are the other one everyone says, aren't they? But they're very serious, and they've got Paul McCartney, who takes himself, you know, like he's some sort of Jesus, whatever, Paul. But anyway, that's a different thing. And I had a vote on Instagram, and it was a very technical, scientific vote with over 78 billion votes, which is kind of what you'd think the Brexit vote was, but saying nothing, leaving that there. So obviously, I think it was 53% agreed that ABBA were the greatest band of all time. So there you go, that's a fact. Yeah, I'm only a bit of fun, but I love ABBA, very excited for the new single. This kind of was a great video to be able to do and kind of blend two of my favourites, like the Game of Thrones things I did, so yeah. What about you? What would you match with the people from ABBA or other people from some of your other favourite bands? I mean, why not? Send the Beatles if you think they're good. Which, you know, I'm not knocking the Beatles. Obviously, the Beatles were of their time. So yeah, thank you for watching. What about you? Who are the greatest band of all time to you? I think music and fragrance do go together really well, don't they, and tell a story. Thanks, folks. Bye.